After the Hunt stars Julia Roberts and Andrew Garfield, and it tells the tale of a college professor who finds herself at a personal and professional crossroads when a star pupil levels an accusation against one of her colleagues and a dark secret from her own past comes to light. This movie comes to us from Luca Guadagnino. It comes in at 39% on the tomato meter, 33 by the audience. Oi, that's not a good start. Now, I'm going to probably guess, I haven't read any of the reviews yet, but I'm going to guess that maybe this has to do with tone and pacing. I'm going to say that the acting is going to get past here because my immediate standouts in this were Julia Roberts is good in this film. So is Andrew Garfield. But the standout for me was actually Michael Stuhlbarg, who you might recognize from, what was he, Boardwalk Empire? He turns in a really interesting performance here. Now, you know the mix here, right? So a student has some allegations against one of the people in there. You know the student's going to be played there by Ayo Edebiri. Sorry if I'm butchering that. But if you watch the trailers for this, it plays out maybe a little bit the way that you think that it would. Okay, do you believe her? Don't you believe her? Okay, is the student obsessed with Julia Roberts? And it's that kind of paradigm. It's very complex subject matter because it's adult subject matter. But then the movie opens up with the context of the backbone of these are elites. These are socialites. These are I'm the upper society, and we're going to be quoting all of these famous authors about society, and it's elitism, right? It's very in your face elitism. And I don't know if Luca Guadagnino did that justice. Like, there was a bunch of social commentary in here for sure. Like, okay, the elites run everything, the white man, old man, white guys run everything kind of thing, and if you got to play by their rules, otherwise you're not going to ascend to such high positions like the way that Julia Roberts is, big professor at Yale and wants to become like a tenure professor there, right? So that being said, does this movie convey what it's trying to do to me, to say to you guys that this is a good movie? No, it doesn't. It leaves a whole bunch of things up in the air where it's kind of like, I'll say this about Luca Guadagnino. I'm not a big fan of his work. I liked Challengers, but I liked parts of it. And I think a lot of people gave it a pass because it was Zendaya. You see that this film was 88%, 76 by the audience there. This one is far less. Now, I'm not saying that Julia Roberts and Andrew Garfield are not a big of a draw as Zendaya, but I think it's the subject matter. You know, I was watching this movie, and I'm like, I like what they're trying to do here. Like, is this student just trying to get close to her because she loves her, or are these allegations true or false? Like, there's some very interesting stuff in there because the student does some shady stuff as well. And it's kind of like, do you trust her? I felt like this could have been handled better under a better director, like a Steven Soderbergh. But for this, I think I'm with most people here where Luca has certain techniques and styles that he does in here, where you see like a certain stroke of the brush. Okay, I like this shot. I like the composition here. I like the blocking of this scene. I like these things here. But then it's kind of undone by the editing and the pacing, which just kind of throws you off. It's like, okay, we're going along this nice thread here. I like this, but then, okay, here's a long shot of somebody getting out of their car and walking. But I want to go back and what was going on with that last scene? It's like that kind of thing. And I could tell you, a lot of people probably will find that tiresome. Now, let's go over to my score sheet and start filling out some numbers here for After the Hunt. Acting, directing, and story are out of a possible 2 points. Cinematography and score are out of 1 point each. And the acting, guys, it's solid. it's solid, right down the middle. Uh, Julia Roberts brings it, and based on that alone, I'm going to give 1.5 because Julia Roberts brings it. But then I also like the ensemble. As I said, Michael Stuhlbarg does a great job in here. Andrew Garfield is not in the movie as much as you would think, but he does have some huge, impactful scenes where he just kind of like gets to light it up as an actor. So I'm going to say yes. And you totally don't trust whatever Ayo Edebiri is doing. You don't. So like the acting is the standout of this film. No doubt about that. Technical aspects, cinematography, the score. I was surprised that the score is done by Atticus Ross and Trent Reznor. I was like, oh wow. In the opening credits, I'm like, okay, that should add another level to this because we just watched Tron Ares. And I was like, that elevated the film so much. But when you look at the application of the soundtrack, there is moments in it where we're in a scene and then all of a sudden, it's like, what? Like there's like horns and trumpets that make a weird noise like that. It's like, no, guys, what are you doing? And that's what I mean by Luca Guadagnino and the strokes of the brush that he's trying to throw you off, make you feel at unease by doing things like that. And some people will like that, some people will not. The technical aspects, I like the cinematography, but it's not really anything that makes me go, you got to check out the movie because of the cinematography. He handles the acting fairly well, but when it comes down to the story, the execution of that story, once again, we run into that muddled mess of pacing. And just, I felt like this maybe needed a better edit. You needed to close off some storylines a little bit more cohesively, and I don't like the final message of the film where it's like, well, we don't know everything for sure. I'm not going to spoil it, but it's just, yeah, no, it didn't work for me. So the story, interesting premise, and I would say you got to check out the story because of Julia Roberts. What she's doing here is very interesting. It's multi-layered. She goes to some really hard places. It's dealing with substance abuse, which I didn't think this movie would be going after, but it's all thrown in there in this big, huge thing, and it's kind of like, it's going to be a bit much for people. I do. Cinematography, I think it's good. I don't know if it's... maybe I will give cinematography a full point. I usually don't. But the score, I can't. The score, I really would like to, but I can't. So, that being said, we're sitting at 5.5 right now for After the Hunt. Let's go over to the tomato meter now and take a look at what some of the critics and the audience were saying so that we can substantiate some of our claims here. The Observer UK liked it. It has a combative, showy kind of intelligence and is not particularly likable. No, it's a mean-spirited film. It is. It's got really dark messages here. And it is perhaps not always as smart as it thinks it is. That said, there's a savagery to the storytelling that is bracing. There is, I think they're talking about the savagery because there's a few scenes in here where she uses her education, her knowledge to just outright assault people intellectually. There's that kind of intellectual battling going on. I think that's what they mean by that. Julia Roberts, 57, excels when her character has a dark, damaged streak that contrasts with her megawatt smile. In this psychological drama, she leaps into an academic snake pit as Alma. Interesting. Let's go to a critic who didn't like it. Commode didn't like it. The film swings between oblique and irritating. And I think irritating is going to be a common theme here because, as I said, it doesn't exactly answer the questions that you would like to have answered. The questions that sets up itself. It doesn't answer those questions in a satisfactory way. It tries to answer them in an intellectual way, right? And if you're not paying attention, if you're not so savvy to know what philosophy they're talking about, then it may move past you, right? And I'm getting that impression here. Film theater, you'll come away feeling as though your precious time has been wasted, which it shouldn't be the case for a film with this level of talent behind it, all of whom are wasted on material that is baffling in theory, yet staggeringly alien in execution. No, I don't. That's somebody that doesn't seem to understand the material, like the process of becoming a tenure, of becoming a PhD student, writing dissertations, and properly referencing stuff like that. Ambition. Yeah, it is a mixed bag. I don't know if it's low as 39% though. I'm guessing the audience here is going to be much more critical. Beautiful setting, great costumes, good acting, but the movie was about, I couldn't really tell. Yeah, exactly. So is it about this case, this accusation that there's kind of like you would assume that there's a witch hunt to go out and get the bad guy in this, played by, well, supposedly bad guy, played by Andrew Garfield. Like, did he do this or did he not? Like, that's the question. And I don't think the movie answers that question in a satisfactory way. It alludes to the possibilities, right? Drawn out storyline, says Lana. Lots of scenes interjected that weren't necessary, had nothing to do with the story. Yeah, and that's Luca Guadagnino trying to paint the brush here with it, trying to fit a certain art house box style of, okay, it's art house, so we got to have a long scene here of somebody sleeping in bed and having some pills put down beside them for them to wake up in the morning and take right away, to hint at the fact that she might have some substance abuse problems. But then they continue to beat us over the head with that. And it's like, do we really need to hear somebody go to the washroom in the background? I don't know. But those are pretty moderate here. Let's take somebody who didn't like it. Deborah C. This was one of the worst movies we have ever seen. While the acting was very good, the dialogue was too mired in philosophical jargon, and the storyline, through timely, left one puzzled. See, now that's exactly what I'm talking about. If you don't know the philosophy, if you don't know the background, if you don't know how this process of the elite colleges and stuff like that, then this is going to go, right? It's going to be boring to you. It's going to be dull, because the essence of this is the accusation and the kind of a witch hunt of, did he do it or did he not do it? Is she lying or is she not lying? And I felt like if this was handled under a better director, then you've got, like, the idea there is compelling. But I was looking at this here, I found myself for the latter half of this film going, I think this is probably one of my more favored Luca Guadagnino films, because I know he's a mixed bag. I know everybody thinks that he's so great up here because he won the award once or whatever, and it's kind of like they expect masterpiece after masterpiece, but it looks like he's not resonating with the audience. He's making his films the way he wants to, but I don't think it's hitting the audience. And I think people will actually come back to this one and be a little bit more kinder upon it once they realize that it's not exactly the film that they perhaps wanted it to be, but there are some really good scenes in here with some really good payoffs, especially from Andrew Garfield and Stahlberg there, and then Julie Roberts. It was really cool to see her not just take on a rom-com or a comedy or anything like that, something that has a layeredness to it, something that has texture. It was good to see that in her, but it is truly a mixed bag after the hunt. All right, that being said, let's go over to the score sheet and wrap things up and get us out of here for After the Hunt. The watchability factor, which is out of a possible 2 points, I would have to say, if you like the premise, if you're a Luca Guadagnino fan, if you're a fan of any of these actors, go check it out. Is it a theatrical watch, though? No. I would say watch this on streaming. But I would say it is worth the watch. It is worth the watch. And that's where I think I'll stick with a 6.5 out of 10 for After the Hunt. That feels that feels about right. It was taking a gamble of throwing all this stuff at you, all this knowledge, and uh, it felt like contempt as well for society. Like, if you know that Nightmare Alley from Guillermo del Toro, it's a very mean-spirited film. It has a lot of things in there that says about society that's not good. This also is in that kind of theme where it's not saying a lot of good things about society. Like this girl, I think, is a liar. She's a liar. It's like, and not Julia Roberts, the other one. And I don't respect that. So that being said, 6.5 out of 10. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments below, and we will talk about it. Hey, if you like this kind of thing, we are going to be reviewing Good Boy on the channel right after this, as well as Black Phone 2, the big movie out in theaters this weekend. So if you liked what you've seen, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe.